Today we're diving into patch 14.7 and seeing how all the changes last week have affected our tier list. We're going to get straight into it today and start off with the top lane. And in the S tier we have Aatrox, Camille, Darius, Fiora, Gragas, Mordekaiser, Olaf, Poppy, Urgot and Zac. Yes, that's plenty of strong options in the S tier, but also lots of solid choices in the A tier as well. Trundle is surprisingly strong in the right matchups, Riven is still electric in the right hands, and Renekton remains a really consistent pick this patch too. Our 3 picks of the patch in the top lane this week though are Camille, Poppy and Mordekaiser. Now Camille got some changes this week trying to shift her away from support, but they actually buffed her in the top lane more than expected. She was already in a good position, but now she's even better and has cemented herself as one of the best top laners you can play. She's still got those difficult matchups of course, but she does always seem to have a way to come out on top and carry games anyway. From stomping lane phases, roaming and ganking, scaling and flanking, and yeah, you can quickly see why she's one of the highest win rate top laners in the game. Poppy returns to the S tier this week too, boasting a really impressive win rate across the board, and if you've seen a good Poppy player recently, I won't need to explain too much. She has amazing disruption, surprising damage, and can shut down all sorts of mobility champions really easily with her reliable CC and her W. She's really hard to gank and dive, she's really easy to gank for as a jungler, and she's a great addition to any team comp. Mord has always been better at lower ranks, and now he's stomping these lower ranks even harder than ever, but also proving more reliable at a wider range of ranks at the same time. He's a really strong counter pick to certain meta champions like Camille, and once he gets ahead he becomes ungankable and starts taking down multiple enemies by himself, turning into a bit of a raid boss in the late game if he's a little bit too fed. If you do want to stay up to date with all of Mordekaiser's best builds and runes, then don't forget to click the link in the description and head to our website. Into the jungle next, and in the S tier we have Bel'Veth, Brand, Diana, Karthus, Master Yi, Rek'Sai, Viego, Volibear and Zac. Kane's buffs saw him climb back up slightly into the A tier, the buffs to Olaf and Sylas put them on the map but only in the B tier so far, and Skarner's VGU didn't quite go exactly to plan so far. He's had an underwhelming start but is starting to slowly creep back up after his hotfix buffs. Our 3 picks of the patch in the jungle this week are Diana, Rek'Sai and Viego. Diana has bounced back into those top tiers in the jungle recently after those buffs. She's now back to doing what she does best, slashing through the jungle quickly and diving into teams to engage with her huge AoE burst damage. She's a pretty easy to play champion, but her impact in games is undeniable. So if you haven't played her recently, give her a go. Rek'Sai has been a really strong pick in the jungle and in the top lane since her changes a few weeks ago, but now she's really solidified her place in the S tier in the jungle and remains one of the best options you can play. She's got unconventional ganks, strong snowball potential, and can really benefit from lanes with CC to combo with those tunnels for easy kills and pretty easy wins too. Viego has been really popular again recently, and it's not too hard to understand why. He's a ton of fun to play and it feels pretty damn awesome resetting your way through teams and putting all of those ARAM games to good use. He's got a lot of damage, solid clears, amazing carry potential and a very expressive kit. So if you do main Viego, now's the time to get on the grind and enjoy it whilst you can. Well, let's jump into the mid lane next then, and in the S tier we have Ahri, Anivia, Aurelion Sol, Cassiopeia, Diana, Kassadin, Sylas and Twisted Fate. Honestly, not really too many changes were aimed at the mid lane last patch, so this meta does feel pretty stable. Plenty of strong S tier picks to choose from, but also a huge amount of choices in the A tier too, performing well across all ranks. Like Hui, Kiana, Echo and even Brand has been so strong recently, he's even popping up in the mid lane too. Our 3 picks to play in the mid lane this patch though are Ahri, Aurelion Sol and Twisted Fate. Ahri is just such an amazing all-rounded mid lane pick to play right now. She's a solid solo queue blind pick to play into all sorts of games and just offers everything you need. She's got solid wave clear, she can set up ganks, she can roam around the map, she can snowball, burst, catch and just hard carry games in the right hands. She's not the most difficult champion to play, but a good Ahri player is definitely something to watch out for because she is having a fantastic patch. If you want to play an AoE scaling monster, then there's simply no better pick than Aurelion Sol. This guy is the definition of late game power, and his ability to explode entire teams with his ultimate is some of the most satisfying stuff you can experience. He's got great wave clear, he's much harder to shut down in the early game than you might think, and also has solid roaming and map mobility too. Speaking of map mobility, Twisted Fate is still an incredible pick in the mid lane too. There's been AP builds, AD attack speed builds, and even movement speed utility builds with Shurelya's being played a lot too. But his AP Rod of Ages Lichbane setup is really proving to be the most consistent. TF can influence games so easily. He can shove, he can ult and gank, he can split push, and he can play for picks throughout all stages of the game, making him an amazing choice to carry with this season. Well, let's get down to the bot lane next step and have a look at those AD carries first. In the S tier, we have Ashe, Jinx, Kog'Maw, Nilah, Twitch, and Zeri. Despite the nerfs to Shiv, Jinx and Zeri remain some of the best champions you can play here. Kog'Maw remains a fantastic hyper carry pick in the right games with a seriously impressive win rate. And then in the A tier, we've also got lots of great options like Kai'Sa, Draven, Vale. Oh, and look, a wild brand appears yet again. Our top 3 picks of the patch in the bot lane this week are Jinx, Nilah, and Twitch. Jinx is one of the best AD carries in the game, and this is pretty much the case across every single rank. With more enchanters being played, this makes her more consistent, and once she gets a few main items, she starts melting through teams with her crazy AoE splash damage and long range burst. Jinx is a ton of fun to play, and when she's good in the meta, she just prints LP if you know what you're doing. Nilah is definitely a bit more situational than Jinx, but her win rate is just insane because when it is the right game to pick her, she thrives and carries so easily. Nilah has surprisingly strong scaling too, and despite her obvious weakness of her low range, she can dive into teams with those gap closers and force fights and duels whenever she likes. She's a great pick with loads of different supports too, so as long as you don't have a really horrible matchup, there's always a way to 1v9. Twitch is another AD carry who is just buzzing with all those enchanters being played again, like Lulu, Melio, and even just general S tier picks like Janna, who can help protect him and help him scale. Twitch has some pretty ridiculous AoE damage in teamfights, and all it takes is one good ambush with his Q and his ultimate to carry a major fight and win the entire game from it. So as long as you don't int too hard in the lane phase, just pick the rat and reap the rewards. Finally, let's have a look at those supports. And in the S tier, we have Blitzcrank, Brand, Janna, Pyke, and Rakan. There's a slightly bigger divide between the S and the A tier here, with these 5 champions just being ridiculously strong at every single rank. In the A tier, there is a huge amount of other choices too though, from enchanters like Lulu and Melio to engaging powerhouses like Leona and Alistar. Our top 3 support picks to play though just have to be Janna, Pyke, and Rakan. Janna has been a seriously consistent support all season so far, and it doesn't really look like this is going to change anytime soon. She works into all sorts of different drafts and team comps and is just a fantastic addition to any solo queue game, offering protection, utility, CC, disengage, and much more. Pyke is also having an amazing season, and if you're good enough on this guy, you can put your teammates on your back and definitely carry by yourself. You've got solid kill threat in those early levels, you've got amazing roaming potential, and once you get ahead, you are a constant threat to any lane, because you can easily stealth into them and pick off those enemies without too much trouble, especially if you're also keeping track of their summoner spells. Pyke does take a bit more practice to play perfectly than some other supports, but once you get the hang of him with those ultimate resets, those big E-flash combos, and everything else along with it, Pyke is a great champion to carry games from that support role. Finally, Rakan feels like he's been in the S tier now for years, and it's safe to say that this season so far has been one of his best. He is a super consistent, super scary support carry, especially when being played by someone who really knows how to utilize all of his kit. He's got everything you need from utility, engage, CC, peel, and protection, and when you land those big 5-man ultimates and W combos, there's not too many fights you're going to lose. Rakan is a great option in so many different ways, and you can pick him into any team comp you get in the chaos of solo queue. So if you just want to one-trick a really enjoyable support and climb a lot of LP along the way, just pick Rakan. That brings us to the end of our patch 14.7 updated tier list video. We hope you guys are enjoying this patch so far, and don't forget to click the link in the description and download our desktop app to get all the best builds and runes and plenty of other free content for you to climb this season in solo queue. Or if you just want to play some casual ARAM games, we've got tier lists and builds there too, so have fun.